Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a bit unusual. We're tackling mathematics. Or maybe challenging it.
That's right. We're asking a pretty bold question based on our sources. Can 1 actually be greater than 1,000?
Which, in any normal math class, the answer is obviously no. 1 is 1.
Exactly. But the material we're looking at today talks about this hidden equation. They call it the mathematics of abundance, Bereket mathematisi in the original.
Right, and it suggests there are these, well, let's call them spiritual coefficients, factors that just completely flip conventional math on its head.
And it all kind of hinges on this one core story, doesn't it? The grandfather in the field.
Yes. It's such a simple picture, but it explains everything. Tell us about that.
Okay, so you have this grandfather. He's got a little pouch of wheat, just a handful, a small measurable amount.
Finite.
Finite, exactly. And he takes it and he throws it into the soil.
Gone. Subtracted from his inventory.
And the child with him, using perfectly logical, linear thinking, says,
Wait, we have nothing left. You just threw away what little we had.
But the grandfather, he just smiles and says, wait, be patient, you see, they'll come back, but uncountable.
Of course they do. That tiny handful, which looked like a total loss.
It comes back as dozens of sacks of grain. It didn't just reproduce, it multiplied like crazy. Because of this hidden factor, the source is called bereket, or abundance.
So that's the core idea. What looks like subtraction under these different rules becomes this massive gain. The world says 1 is less than 1,000. Always.
But this divine equation, as the sources put it, suggests that 1, when you add the right spiritual coefficient, becomes, well, more than enough. Much more.
Okay, so our mission today in this deep dive is to unpack those coefficients. The sources lay out 4 main ones, right?
Yes, 4 divine formulas: patience, sharing, gratitude, and trust. Each one supposedly transforms the outcome.
All right, let's dig in. Formula 1, patience. Sabir, how does this work as a time coefficient?
Well, the sources frame Sabir not just as passively waiting around.
Which is how most of us think of it, probably.
Right. But here, it's active endurance. It's the quality that lets you stay determined, stay faithful, even when the numbers look, completely against you right now.
Like that seed again.
Yeah.
Without patience, you just have 1 seed. That's it. Limited.
But patience brings time into the equation. Suddenly, that 1 seed has the potential to become, well, the sources say 100-fold or even more.
So consuming immediately gives you 1. Applying patience. That lets that 1 grow over time.
Exactly. And the sources argue this teaches a crucial lesson. Real power isn't just in quantity, like how many soldiers you have or how much money. It's in the qualities.
Qualities like faith, determination.
Precisely. Which brings us to that key historical example they use, the Battle of Badr.
This seems central to understanding patience.
It's their clearest illustration. You had, 313 Muslims versus about 1,000 on the other side.
So less than a third. The odds look terrible from a purely numbers perspective.
Absolutely. But the 313 were unified. They were faithful. And crucially, they were patient, actively enduring. The 1,000. They were numerous, yeah, but scattered, maybe arrogant, lacking that core unity and truth.
So is it just about being small and determined? Or does the truth part matter? Does the reason for the patience count?
That's key. The sources stress that Sabir works when it's anchored in something righteous, in truth. It's not just stubbornness. It's enduring for a just cause. So the equation isn't just few plus patience many. It's more like few plus patience, grounded in truth, many. The quality, the steadfastness over time determine the outcome.
Which feels really relevant for anyone listening who's facing something huge, like a small startup against a giant, or just a personal battle that feels overwhelming.
We all have those little Badr battles, don't we, where the problem feels like 100 units strong and you feel like just one. Patience is presented as the factor that allows your 1 unit not just to survive the pressure, but to potentially outlast and overcome the sheer weight of the 100. It buys you that time for potential to become reality.
Okay, so patience uses time, but Formula 2. This one really messes with basic arithmetic, sharing. Pelashmek. How can giving things away increase what you have?
This is maybe the biggest paradox. Standard economics, standard math tells you wealth minus sharing equals less wealth. Simple subtraction.
Right. Give it away. It's gone.
But the sources completely reject that. They propose this abundance equation. Wealth minus sharing equals exponential increase. Katlanarak artush.
Okay, hold on. That sounds risky, especially if you're running a small business like you mentioned.
Yeah.
How can the sources call sharing a reliable investment? Isn't it just charity, which is good, but potentially drains resources.
It's about perspective.
Yeah.
The sources teach that sharing isn't consumption, it's planting. Think about a farmer.
Okay.
Does a farmer lose a seed when they put it in the ground?
Well, no, not really. They expect it to grow into much more.
Exactly. They're giving it up, subtracting it from their immediate stash, but they're making maybe the oldest, most reliable investment there is. Trusting the process of growth. Sharing, in this view, is like that.
And they use that village dinner table scene to show this socially.
Yes. The grandfather invites neighbors, even when the pot looks barely enough for his own family. Logically, every spoonful given away should empty it faster.
But it doesn't. The story says the pot somehow stays full, everyone eats. Sharing itself triggers the multiplication.
And the sources point to a specific Quranic verse to explain the mechanism behind this. The metaphor of the seed.
Tell us about that.
It's really vivid. It says, spending or sharing in God's way is like one single seed that grows 7 spikes, or ears of corn.
Okay, 1 becomes 7.
But then each of those 7 spikes bears 100 grains.
Wow. So 1 turns into 7, which turns into 700.
And potentially more, because those 700 grains contain the seeds for the next planting. It suggests an infinite cycle.
That completely flips the idea of scarcity on its head. Giving away doesn't deplete, it activates growth.
Correct. The promise cited is that God replaces what you spend. You're not losing it. You're transferring it from, let's say, your checking account to a high-yield, infinite growth investment account.
And it's not just about material things, right? The sources talk about sharing non-material things too.
Absolutely crucial point. Sharing a smile or knowledge or even just your time. These satisfy deeper needs, emotional, spiritual.
And the multiplication there is maybe even more powerful.
Often, yes. Hoarding physical wealth might give you temporary security, but sharing joy, that multiplies in the other person and reflects back on you. The resulting peace, the sources suggest, is far greater and more lasting than just having more grain.
Okay, this is fascinating. Which brings us to Formula 3. And you said this is where it gets really interesting. Gratitude. Shukr. Not just a feeling, but an active variable.
That's exactly how it's presented, like a conditional statement in programming or a mathematical rule.
An if-then statement.
Precisely. The sources quote a very direct principle. If you are grateful, I will increase you. But if you are ungrateful, my punishment is severe. It's presented as an absolute law.
So, gratitude shukr is like flicking a switch to increase. And ingratitude, nankurlik, flicks it to decrease.
Yeah.
But how? How does just feeling grateful actually increase your resources? Is it magic?
Well, the sources suggest a very practical, almost psychological mechanism. Gratitude fundamentally increases your awareness.
Awareness. How so?
Think about it. The ungrateful person is always focused on what's missing, right? The deficit. I don't have this. I wish I had that. This focus actually blinds them to the resources and opportunities they already possess.
Okay, I can see that.
But the grateful person, they focus on what is present. I have this roof. I have this food. I have this skill. Suddenly their eyes are open to existing blessings, existing opportunities, and acting on those confirms the promised increase.
So you don't necessarily need new stuff to magically appear. You just become aware of and better utilize the stuff that was already there.
That's a huge part of it. It changes your internal state of wealth. We all know people who have vast amounts of money but feel constantly poor, anxious, focused on what they might lose.
Yeah. Miserable billionaires.
Exactly. And then you might see someone with very little materially, but who feels genuinely rich and peaceful because they appreciate and maximize every little thing they have. Their gratitude creates a state of abundance.
Now, the sources also bring in another related concept here, Takfa. Societal piety or consciousness. How does that fit with gratitude?
That's right. If gratitude, shukr, is the individual function for increase, takfa is presented as the collective societal version.
So gratitude works for me, takfa works for us.
Kind of. The sources cite a principle. If a whole community practices takfa, meaning collective consciousness, ethical behavior, avoiding harm, then we would open upon them blessings from the sky and the earth.
Wow. So collective ethics act as a multiplier for shared communal abundance.
That seems to be the idea. It's like a safeguard for the whole society's prosperity, built on shared values, not just individual feelings.
That's a powerful thought. So the equation for the listener becomes really about their internal state too.
Definitely. It's something like little plus gratitude, much plus peace. But the flip side is just as important, much gratitude. Little plus anxiety, that feeling of poverty, even with wealth.
Which leads us perfectly into the final formula, the one that seems to tie it all together. trust. Tevekkul, the infinity coefficient.
Yes, Tevekkul addresses the fundamental human problem. Our resources, our energy, our knowledge, it's all limited, finite.
As sometimes that little just feels completely insufficient, yet or size.
Exactly. So how do you bridge that gap between your limited 1 unit and the infinite power needed to overcome the 100 units of the problem? That's where Tevekkul comes in.
But what is it exactly? Is it just closing your eyes and wishing passive hope?
No, not at all, according to these sources. It's defined as absolute reliance on the divine, but crucially, after you have exerted your maximum possible human effort.
Ah, okay. So you do everything you can do first.
Everything. You use all your skills, all your energy, all your resources, however limited. And then, having done your part, you engage Tevekkul. Conceptually, it acts like the infinity symbol, connecting your finite number to an infinite source.
And there's a core guarantee attached.
Yes, a very direct one. Whoever relies upon Allah, he is sufficient for him. Sufficient, yet.
So the equation shifts again. It's not just about getting much anymore. It's
Subtle as plus trust, Tevekkul. Sufficient, yetter. Adequacy, enoughness.
it changes the goalpost entirely.
It really does. It moves your focus from worrying about the outcome, which you can't fully control, to focusing on the effort, which you can, and trusting that the sufficiency will be provided.
And the classic story used here is Hagar, right? In the desert with Ishmael.
The perfect illustration. She did everything humanly possible, ran back and forth between those hills, Safa and Marwa, desperately searching for water, using her limited energy.
Her resources were dwindling. Just a little water, a few dates. Human math says, game over.
Yeah.
Depletion.
Exactly. But her effort, combined with her ultimate trust, her tevekkul, that somehow, some way, a solution would come. That, the sources say, is what led to the Zemzem spring.
So the equation wasn't as is depletion. It became as plus tevekkul, flowing spring. Abundance from sufficiency.
And the deep insight there, especially for the listener today, is that tevekkul ensures true abundance isn't necessarily about having a massive quantity of stuff.
It's about the feeling of sufficiency.
Yes, that deep internal sense of adequacy, that peace. It shifts the entire life equation away from a frantic chase for quantity towards a confident reliance on adequacy.
And I see now how this anchors the other three. Patience needs trust to not become despair. Sharing needs trust that you won't be left destitute. Gratitude needs trust that there's a benevolent source to be grateful to.
Without tevekkul, they remain purely human efforts, subject to human limitations and anxieties. Trust connects the whole system, patience, sharing, gratitude to that infinite source, making the impossible math possible. So if we just quickly summarize the results from this hidden mathematics, we've seen how as little gets transformed.
Right. As plus patience, victory.
Yeah.
Giving you the time needed.
As plus sharing, multiplication, turning giving into growth.
As plus gratitude, increase, unlocking awareness and peace.
And as plus trust efficiency, bridging your limit to the infinite, ensuring you have enough.
And the master formula underlying it all seems to be, abundance is about quality mathematics. It's as plus barakat equals little plus that spiritual coefficient equals much.
And conversely, Sek, Baraked, Harry, Akos agree. Lots of stuff minus that quality equals basically nothing of real value. It highlights that sometimes the things you lose in the physical sense, the seed you plant, the money you share, are precisely what activate the game in this other deeper equation.
It's a totally different way of calculating value. So the question for you listening is, what does this mean for your calculations? Looking at your own life's equation right now, your challenges, your resources, which of these four abundance coefficients, patience, sharing, gratitude, or trust, might you consciously choose to add starting today to shift your own results?
Something to think about, definitely. A different kind of math problem.
Indeed, something to calculate until the next deep dive.